Okay, let me have you say and spell your name, please.
Sure, it's Marcus Bush, M-A-R-C-U-S, Bush, B-U-S-H.
And your title?
Sure, it's council member in the city of National City.
Okay, and what district? Or do you guys have
the city of National City, so it's just citywide, okay. No districts.
All right, Marcus, I want to start with a little bit of your background and just tell me what it was like. Again, I'm not that familiar with the demographics of National City, but tell me what it was like growing up. You're Afro-Latinx, from what I understand. So what was that like? Did you feel unique or different? Did people treat you different, or just what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I grew up in National City. My mother is Mexican-American, and she's from Ontario, Oregon, and her family came to this country in 1917 from a little town called Calvillo, Aguascalientes. So but, you know, we've been on my mom's side here for generations, and then on my dad's side, he's African-American, originally from Thomasville, Georgia, and obviously descended of slaves, and we're proud of that heritage. And another little fun fact, my dad's actually from the same town as the new Secretary of Defense from Thomasville, and actually went to high school and played with him. So it's inspiring to see us in these spaces, to see folks that look like us, that come from diverse backgrounds, and that's what our country is about. And you know, in terms of me growing up, being a black and Mexican, was I different? Yes, but in National City, because we're such a diverse community, because we have it's majority Latino, predominantly Latino, but and of that is Mexican, but there's also a big Filipino population, there's white, there's African-American. So we are a really diverse community. And so I always felt that, you know, there was always a lot of questions about me being black and where I came from, but I always felt accepted and loved here in this community.
Okay. So I read the article and they put a lot of firsts on you. You're the first Afro-Latinx, you're the first LGBTQ, I want to say the first millennial on the council. Now that shocked me. I'm thinking, you mean to tell me they didn't have any young people there before? Like, what does that really mean? So I want you to talk about those first, what it means to you to have that category. I'm assuming there's been an African-American on the council before, or no?
Yes, so there actually was. And so, yeah, I'm honored to have made history in National City, the first Afro-Latino, the first and the second African-American. So the first was Councilmember Fred Pruitt, who was elected in 1988. And I was lucky enough to serve with his wife on the Planning Commission, Miss Allie Pruitt, and also the first openly LGBTQ and one of the first openly bi-electeds in San Diego County, and then also the first millennial. And I think the importance of that is, you know, it's so important when we talk about diversity and inclusion. It's so important to have a society and our government that's really reflective of the people they serve, to offer different perspectives and different backgrounds and ideas and innovation. So our beauty is our diversity, our differences, and our culture, and that's something to be celebrated.
Okay, I want to talk about the Black community in San Diego. It's small, but from what I can tell, it's a pretty tight-knit group. You know, I think that people seem supportive of one another. And just tell me what you know about the African-American community in San Diego, its history. You said your dad's from Georgia, but clearly he's been in California for quite some time. So just tell me what you know and what your thoughts are about the African-American community and, you know, what the future looks like for them here in San Diego.
Yeah, so the Black community in San Diego, it's, you're right, it is small. We make up between about 5 to 10% of the population, depending on where you're at in San Diego County. But we're an important part of the history, and obviously just when we talk about representation and progress, it's so important to have African-American representation in leadership. So when you look at politically, you look at Dr. Shirley Weber, who's now the first Black Secretary of State. Or when you look at even from the more local level, like Councilmember Monica Montgomery Stepp, and her district borders National City, District 4. So it's so important to have that leadership and that representation, and because that inspires the next generation and encourages more participation, but also the issues. And I think the issues are what it's all about. So when we look at addressing systemic racism, whether that's the incarceration or in our education system, even in our healthcare system, it's present in every aspect of our society, and we have to have these tough conversations and talk about it in order to really solve it. And when we do that, it's not just about the Black community; it's about other disadvantaged groups too. And it's important for us to lift each other up in that. So whether you're Black, Latino, Asia Pacific Islander, LGBTQ, disabled, immigrant, or religious minority. I mean, there's so many disadvantaged groups, and we need to make sure to look out for those and celebrate those.
What made you want to go into city politics or local politics, being who you are, all the things that make you unique? Did you find that it was challenging? Did you think it was going to be challenging to be elected and to serve?
Let me write it down. Let me make sure I got all that. So the first part of the question was what inspired me?
What inspired you to get into local politics, and what were some of the challenges, or were there any challenges?
Yeah, what first inspired me to local politics, or just politics in general, it was really Barack Obama and his Democratic National Convention, the keynote speech in 2004. And I'll never forget, sitting down and watching that with my mom. He was state senator, Barack Obama back then, running for Senate. And I thought, wow, like that speech, he could be the next president. We can have someone that looks like me, someone in that high office, our first Black president, and it happened. So that's what really inspired me in 2008. So I volunteered on his campaign. Then later I got involved locally with the campaign of now Councilmember Mona Rios. And then she encouraged me, she mentored me and encouraged me to get involved with the community and join our local civil service committee. And then it was the planning commission, where I made history there as the youngest planning commission chair. And so that was a good opportunity for me, kind of bringing my education experience. I went to San Diego State and majored in city planning. So being able to bring that perspective into National City and give back. And then a couple of years ago, I decided, I'm gonna try to run for city council. We need more representation and diverse voices, and was lucky enough to get the support of our mayor, who was the first Latina elected, Sotelo Solis, and then Councilmember Rios, and now I'm honored to serve on city council.
Okay, so what's it been like for you? You were elected last year, it's 2021. I'm not sure how long you've been in office, you can tell me, but what's it been like?
A couple months.
Okay, what's it been like?
So what's it been like? I think one of the challenges is in city council, it is a part-time position. So having to juggle that with the job and then work and wanting to meet with constituents and making sure that I'm available. So that's the challenge, but it's definitely something that luckily we have staff so that we can, try to work through. So that's one of the challenges. Another challenge is just trying to get up to speed on all the issues coming up. So I mean, we have housing crisis, the COVID pandemic, and we're talking Black History Month, and we're talking about celebrating that, yes, but also we still need to have the conversation about equity and the importance of addressing systemic racism, making sure that when we're doing a vaccine rollout, making sure that that's done in an equitable way, and that that the Black community or Latino community or any other disadvantaged group, they're not being left behind. So that's definitely a challenge, something that's a priority for me, as well as I think the majority of my colleagues on city council.
Okay, one last question. What are you a city planner for your day job? Is that where you are for the city of National City?
No, I'm a project manager for a nonprofit developing affordable housing.
Okay, perfect. Do you mind telling me the name of your company? I may mention it, but it's not that
Sure,
I'm going
to. Sure, it's Mac Project. Yeah.
Okay.
Mac Project.
Mac Project. Thank you. Okay. And so one last question. Tell me what being Afro-Latina and basically, I don't know if people see you as Afro-Latina or if they see you as a Black man, whatever that experience is for you, I want you to talk about that, and then just kind of sum up for me what Black history means to you.
Sure. Your question was if I identify as Black?
I know you identify, you're Afro-Latina. I know that some people, like until Amada La Negra came out on Love and Hip, I don't think people had even heard of Afro. I grew up in California, so I know it's a thing, but I want you to kind of talk about whether or not people identify you as Black, if they identify you as Hispanic, how you identify. And then we'll talk about Black history.
Got it. Well, so how I identify as both. So I identify as Afro-Latino, I identify as African-American, as Black. I also identify as Mexican. And I think sometimes growing up, people did kind of want me to box myself, to pick or choose a side, and there is no side. It's all of me, and that's the beauty of where I come from and having a diverse background myself. And so, you know, Afro-Latino, I get Blaxican sometimes, or another phrase could be Black Chicano is another one. And yeah, and I think it's important to like have those different perspectives and just celebrate that richness and diversity. Does that kind of answer your question? Or
yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because I mean, there are so many multiracial people nowadays, and I think it's just something that people need to get over. It's like not a thing, or it should. So,
absolutely, and I know that, and there's been challenges facing especially Black and brown communities, and there's been, you know, issues that have divided the communities in the past, looking at gentrification and displacement, and so much of that is due to our economic situation, and so it's important that we all, like I said earlier, that we look out for each other. So. It doesn't matter if you're Black or Latino or white or LGBTQ. When we see a group that's in need, that needs help, we should all be there to help out. And that's what I want to see from both my Latino and Black communities.
Okay, last question. Black History Month. What does it mean to you? Why should it be celebrated? How do you celebrate it?
Yeah, so Black History Month, it's so important to celebrate that because it's not just about, it's American history, number one. So, but, you know, number two, we have so much to be excited and proud of, especially from our ancestors coming from slavery and then being able to, over generations, fight for our rights, civil rights movement, and looking at where society has progressed. And, you know, we still have a long way to go. So we still see areas of systemic racism or voter suppression, still police accountability issues in the community we need to address. You know, but I think where all these conversations need to happen, and the reason why we need to celebrate Black history is because it's happening right now in the present. There's still issues that we need to solve, and we need to work together to find solutions to, and that's what I want to do as a council member, is solve that. So, you know, I celebrate Black history this month, but really we need to be thinking about these issues every day throughout the year.
All right. Thank you, Marcus. That's it. Thank you.
That was so hard.
Oh my God, you did a great job.
And then on the diversity question, I was like, what I say about being Black and mixed? I mean, is that what you were looking for? Like,
I may not even use it. I just am curious, okay. And sometimes just you get really good answers. Yeah, because I mean, this is not. Some people won't think this is the typical, you know, Black person that you should, because he is of mixed heritage, just like Kamala Harris. I mean, she's Black, she's Indian. So that's always, you know, this back and forth all the time. It's really like not a thing. I think we live in a society that's going to say you're a Black man, but that's really for you to determine at the end.
And I'm okay with that. Right. I think it's important. Like, I am a Black man, and that is how society sees me, and that's how I appear. So that's how I identify. Yeah. But when I push back on people is when they exclude the other side of me, or, you know, I've had it where people forget that I'm Mexican. So I was getting my hair cut, and I remember when the barbers said, "Oh, these Mexicans are taking our jobs," and I turned around and I was like, "Excuse me, dude, I'm a Mexican. Like, did you forget?" You know, and even if I wasn't, you know, why do you think that that's an okay thing to say, you know? So that you know, that does happen. But yeah, I really do identify with both, and then still recognize it that both the Latino community is very diverse, and the Black community is very diverse. Like, Black from LA, you probably know, is totally different from Black in Mississippi or Black in Georgia.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, there's a lot of diversity within our own groups. There's a lot of diversity.
Yeah, for sure. Let me turn the record.